is Lindsay, and I have founded Women of Character, and I'm so excited that you are here listening. I have built this platform for women to come hear real stories of real women with real character. So today I'm talking with my friend Sabrina. We met each other a couple years ago. We are both single moms and multi-business owners, and she was able to transform her life, and it all starts with character. So we are going to dive in and talk about that today. Hey.
Hey.
Thank you for spending time with me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I met you a couple years ago now. 3 years ago? You started Nice Ladies.
You know where I met you?
Oh, yeah.
I met you in the flesh.
Yes.
At Marley May Market.
Yeah.
Outside.
Yep.
And so I have a charcuterie business, Graze and Prosper. I'm the owner of that. This month is actually the 3rd year
Congrats.
in business. So I met you in the very first,
Yes.
in the beginning. And so entrepreneurship, once all of my life leading up to this moment, it definitely was like a big launch for me to take a bet on myself that I'm capable of actually making money in a business idea that I have.
Love it.
That part.
Love it. Fire.
Because I've tried and
Yes.
failed multiple times,
Yeah.
but I'm like, maybe we can do this. This seems doable. But I decided to say yes to a market, and I am not a market girly, not my vibe. And to think like, how can I sell cheese at a market? Like, what?
Who's going to buy this?
Yeah, who's going to buy it? So I just made like little tiny things.
Yeah.
So I get there and they have me out in the sun. I'm like, do you know I have cheese?
Yeah.
And I don't know how to do a market. You're supposed to have a tent, all these things. I was like, this ain't going to vibe. And they're like, oh, somebody canceled inside. Do you want to come in? You're right next to Lindsay. I was like, Princess Lindsay? Yeah, I'll be right next to her. And so when I don't know.
Cheese and princesses.
I know. I don't know if I introduced myself or what, but at the time we didn't have Nice Ladies yet.
Yes.
But just my business and just watching you and your personality and your demeanor and your character, and your mom was there, and it was like post-COVID. So maybe, what year is it? Like 2020?
No, 21.
Yeah.
2021.
And I was like, I want to be her friend.
Yeah, same.
I hope she wants to be my friend. But yeah, it was just beautiful to watch, and we've just kind of blossomed from there. I didn't know a lot about your story then. You would share little nuggets here and there. But other than that.
Yeah. So we met about 3 years ago at a market. You were selling cheese. I had princesses. That was my first market, yours too.
It? Yeah.
And I remember, afterwards you had just launched Nice Ladies.
Yeah.
And tell me about what Nice Ladies is.
Yes.
Tell us what that is.
Yeah, so I'm also one of the founders of Nice Ladies.
Okay.
It's entrepreneurial networking group of all women. This is our second full business year that we've been in progress. But the concept is that we are connecting women together in business or who have a business mindset so that we can collaborate instead of compete.
Love it.
And the biggest thing that we're noticing right now is women especially, want a place where they can belong, that they don't have to fit in, which means changing yourself to be a part of something. And the feedback that we've been getting is like, it feels so good here. And I'm like, yeah, because we're not forcing you to be something that you're not.
Yeah.
Like, if you have to cancel on us, if you're late, or you are not in your best state, we're not expecting you to put a smile on and muster through it. No, if it's not in alignment, then just take a day, take a moment. So that's been a really magical experience. But another aspect of Nice Ladies is the philanthropic piece, where every month we highlight a different local nonprofit in the area and provide our resources, meet an immediate need, but also give back. So whatever that need is, shoes, clothes, ointments, whatever, we ask our ladies to provide that for the nonprofit.
I remember going to a Nice Ladies meeting, and we were I think, packaging up items for the
Yes.
homeless. And I've
Yes.
heard from many different nonprofit leaders in the area, and we always ask, like, how can we
Yes.
serve you
Yes.
and what you're doing, your mission. So
And
that's
so many
exciting.
people have in our lives are willing to help us. And we're so focused on work all the time that this allows the women to like take the blinders off for a moment and like take a breath and realize like there are much bigger issues that everybody else is dealing with.
Yeah.
That our minuscule flat tire, although it made us late and seems hella major, that morning we just heard from, example, Foster, Florida.
Yes.
There's normally 17 kids on the weekend that don't have housing. This past weekend, there were more than 30 that are sitting in a home waiting to have a bed to sleep in.
Yeah.
And I'm over here upset that
Exactly.
they don't have the type of cheddar that I want at the store.
Exactly.
Like, it puts every month, we get kind of like put back into perspective, puts us back into a place of gratitude. Instead of our arms are closed, our hands become more open. Like, how can I serve?
Yeah.
Because that's what fills our cup up.
Yeah, and that's all, like, that's what business is. Any good business, you know, you just serving people. Mm-hmm. And so we do in motherhood, you know, friendships. How can I serve?
Right, but also remembering I cannot serve from an empty cup. So the bread of what Nice Ladies is we want to serve you as a woman first. We want to fill your cup up first. So then it can overflow into your family, then your business, and then the community.
Beautiful.
So that we have it all.
Yes.
And it's magical.
Yeah, we'll talk more about it, but
So I think the difference too,
Yes.
from what Women of Character is and what Nice Ladies is, you are focused on an individual woman who may feel stuck in a phase of their life. Where who doesn't feel like they have resources, who has an inability to tap into her feelings, to feel them and then let them go, and then replace that like negative feeling with joy, peace, love, like all the positive ones. But what I've noticed in Nice Ladies is there's a lot of sometimes masculine energy that needs to come with owning a business, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And so there's the buzz. Everybody's buzzing, everybody's vibing off of each other, and everybody is in a state of joy and a happiness when we're together. And you have to have some kind of confidence in yourself to be a business owner.
Yes, you do.
We have seen business owners who don't,
Yes.
and they fail very quickly.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of stronger women that are in our group. And this season, there are brand new baby business owners, and you can see the difference in confidence in them.
Yeah.
And they're just short, like they don't have a lot of sense of self and confidence in their ability to be great and to be successful. But to me, a woman of character is somebody who has really strong boundaries, that they can ebb and flow boundaries, but that they have the power to set them, that they are confident in their own ability to be great in any aspect of their life, and that they're not afraid to share their story, to share where they've come from, where they are today, and to know that, like, some days are crappy. Most days currently, you know, the state of the world right now is kind of crappy, but that is not who I am. That's not who I'm supposed to be. Understanding that they can tap into their village of resources and individuals, but they wake up with all the power they need to conquer everything they need to that day.
Yeah.
It's already inside them, and truly believing they have the power within themselves to do what they need to do for the day, for their life, for their business, whatever that may be, for their kids. Like, God made us for each specific thing that we're dealing with in our life today. It's already in us. We just have to believe it.
I jokingly like tell God sometimes, like, okay, I am done with the character building exercises, Lord. Like, I'm done. Thank you so much, because, you know, up till now, everything I've experienced and gone through has served me to prepare me for what's next.
Yes.
You know, anytime that, like we were talking about, anytime friction comes up or resistance or, you know, a negative event that's coming up in my life, I'm like, okay, like here we go, another character building exercise. Like, what is this preparing me for next?
Exactly. And I do, like, so somebody, a woman of character, is able to ask herself those questions.
Yes.
What is this preparing me for?
Yeah.
And can I take a moment
Yeah.
and a breath
Yeah.
to even recognize what that next step could be or look like? Or, man, he's still challenging me to work on patience.
Oh, Lord. Forever.
Really?
Forever.
I feel like I'm the most patient individual
Good for you.
ever. But I'm like, more patience?
I know.
More?
I know.
God, what's ahead of me?
I know. Oh, God, what's
You know, like, and then that makes me nervous sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm like, gosh, it's going to be so great
Yeah.
that I'm going to need all of this training. But I do think women of character is crucial
Yeah.
because so many women can't tap into that power.
No.
They do not believe it.
No. Well, so women of character and character in general is this deeper thing. Our society, which I could talk for hours about, is so focused on, and I mean, the money shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
The money shows that what's our society focused on? Lip fillers, hair. Everyone has so many credit cards because they're shopping for clothes. Like, we're all trying to fix something, but we're trying to fix it externally. And I'm like, no. That's so fleeting. That's so poor and weak. You know, we have to go deep, like, and fix what's on the inside. And what is that? You know, when I first was able to kind of change my situation, or women would come to me and say, hey, Lindsay, how did you change your life in 6 months? I'm like, how did I do that? I worked backwards, and I was like, oh, it was my character, right? It was resilience to keep going forward. It was courage to face my hardships and my hard circumstances. So I want to give that to other women. Like, we have to first focus on our inner character and our inner story before, you know, and then everything else will follow.
It does.
From there.
So much of life takes courage.
Yes.
And thinking back about my mom, she lost her courage.
Yeah.
She lost it. Yeah. I do not suffer with a mental illness. It's not, but my mom did. Yeah. And ex-husband does. Yeah. And to know that you're so deep in a hole that you don't even want to get out of bed.
Yes.
I've been there.
Me too.
Postpartum for sure. Again, doesn't serve me anymore, but to know that in your head that's not an option to get out of bed. Yeah. It's heavy.
That's scary.
It's heavy.
It's
and
dark.
Yes, it is dark, and that you have to, it takes one reach out to somebody and say, hey. Yeah. But it only comes with vulnerability, and most people don't have it.
No.
They don't
have it.
Yeah, all of the things. Yeah. And man, it's hard. It's a hard season.
When I was going through my divorce, I had a newborn. I had a toddler. We were in a pandemic. I couldn't go back to my job. I was supposed to have been off maternity leave, but I worked in the theme park world, and they're closed, right? Like a lot of jobs because of the pandemic. So I didn't know if I had a job to go back to. And I just remember, not wanting to get out of bed, not wanting to live. I wanted to die. That seemed like the easier thing.
Sure.
And I just remember laying in bed and telling myself, get up, mama. Get up, mama. You need you and your babies need you. Get up. And it starts with that. And, that's what we have to fight for. Like, if you can and that's why I say all the time, get up, mama.
Just get up.
And now that's what so get up is kind of that counseling piece, which I'm not a counselor. We don't counsel here at Women of Character. Yeah. But
we inspire.
but you first have to get up, and then you can keep dreaming. So that's where, you'll hear me saying those two things all the time. Get up, mama, and keep dreaming. Because you first have to get up. That's the first step. Literally, sit up in bed.
Yeah.
You've already made it that far. Like, that's a big deal. Like, for me to do that some mornings when I wanted to die was a big deal.
For sure.
Yes. And then put your feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Just get out of bed, make that cup of coffee, make breakfast for your kids, just
brush your hair,
get up. Yeah.
take a shower.
Get up, mama.
Those simple
That's
things.
the first step. And then, at Women of Character, we help you get to a place of hope where you can dream again.
Yeah. Because a lot of it is so blocked from the clouds.
Yeah.
And you don't even see the sun anymore when you're so deep in it. And it's hard.
Yeah.
But there is always sunshine. Always.
I love it. Yeah.
It is. And to understand that once you get going, you just stay in motion. I don't know what the scientific term of that is, but like once something is in motion, it keeps staying in motion. But we're never going to have the motivation every day.
No.
Like, it doesn't work. It's like, it's habits, it's routine, it's mindset. So if it is just getting up, that's step one. That's a check off the list, and you check that list.
It sounds so small, but it's a big deal.
But when you are so deep in it, that's such a big task. So looking back on the last few years, getting to where I need to go right now, it's like, it was such a pivotal moment, right? So I was raised to think, go to school, get a degree, go to college. Nobody else in my family has went to college. But yeah, nobody else has been to college in my family. And to me, that was, I didn't think myself as the golden child, but observing my life as a child and knowing what my sister, she was just super chaotic, ran away all the time. And then my brother and I were like 18 months apart, so we kind of like retreated together, but he also never listened. So it was like, in my head, I formed at an early age, just do what your parents are telling you to do, and then the chaos won't come. And so that turned me into a heavy people pleaser, and almost like create my own world in my room. So they don't come for me. And they never came for me because I did exactly what they asked me to do. And they weren't, I wouldn't say abusive, they were just reacting in an unprepared way as a parent. They didn't have the tools to deal with my sister and to deal with my brother. And Sabrina just seems happy, she's fine. She's not making a lot of noise, so it's okay. But for me, it was super important to finish school and be graduate high school. And I was not valedictorian, but the second one. I don't know what that was. So got to do the whole speech for, graduation. And I was proud of myself. I wasn't looking for their accolades. But for me, it was an accomplishment and a check off my box. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. And then to go to college was like huge, to be accepted and to know that I can get a scholarship because of the choices that I made up to here have given me the doors that I need to go through. But I didn't realize how much trauma I was in. I was just trying to get to graduate, to go to school, and I got accepted, and I did all the things that a good girl would do. And then in a early relationship at 17, it's just, wow, holy moly, to think that I jumped in so soon. But still, graduated with a bachelor's in education. It's just all the fancy confetti things
that you're supposed to do, the checks off the list.
Yeah, and fulfilling that goal, but also I wasn't full. I didn't even know what a full cup meant at that age of 22, 23. I just thought I was just going, living life. And that's all that there was. Nobody ever challenged me. What do you want after school? And that's so interesting now that I think about it. Like, I feel like the trajectory of my path would have been so different. It's like, is that really what you want? And, I think people did, but I was like, you could tell me nothing. Kindergarten teacher? That's what I thought I wanted to be. Kindergarten teacher? Pfft, never. And then when I was in the school system, it was so much. It was like all the time, Monday through Friday. And then I don't feel like college prepared me for any of that, to deal with the socio-emotional well-being of a child. And I always seemed to get those children, which was fine. And the principal said, well, because you're so patient,
Right.
that's why you have 20 kids who are working below grade level, who can't even regulate, have extreme anxiety, but you are the right fit. I'm the right fit. Yeah. I was like, oh my God. But it all prepared me for where I was this past year, how to regulate my own children and my own self. But then my mom was kind of sick along in that realm too. And after all the babies fled the nest, essentially, and then she got divorced from my dad, and she was just all alone. And her health went downhill very quickly. But she didn't tell us that it was going downhill. We just thought that she had a drinking problem. But really it was cancer that was just eating away at her body. But she didn't ask for support or help or anything until we got all of the bills after we realized what it really was.
After she had passed?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, because she didn't have any will in place, any kind of power of attorney. We had no knowledge, and nobody would give us any information either. So that was unfortunate. But thank the Lord that I was like on such a good workout routine and I had discovered like personal development and Eric Thomas and Ed Milet, and they were just feeding my soul in preparation because I knew she was going to pass away. Like she just had no will to live. And thinking as a mom now, like how lonely that must have felt.
Absolutely.
For her. But I was like, she's in a much better place. So when it did happen, it was so random and quick because, we get time off for school with Thanksgiving. And I was like, man, my mom hasn't answered the phone in a while. And she finally picked up. And I was like, where have you been? Where have you been? Oh, I've been in the hospital for
oh my goodness,
8 weeks. 8 weeks?
Wow.
Oh, what in the world? And so it was like the end of my Thanksgiving break. And I was like, I could have been up there this whole time, Mom. She's like, I know, but I don't want you. You have a new baby. And she just didn't want to disrupt anybody's. She didn't feel like her life was special enough to disrupt other people's lives. And that's very sad.
Very sad.
So sad. But then she passed away about a week later. But again, we're almost to Christmas time off. So I was like, can I make it?
Yeah.
Can I do a week and a half with these children and keep the facade up that I'm okay? But when so I had a meeting with the principal, and I had agreed I can finish out the school year. But she brought me in and was like, hey, you have to make a decision. So you can either take more time off or you can finish out the school year and then we can go from there. And for me, I was like, what do you mean? Like I have to make a choice? How much time do I need to grieve? And to me, it was just so transactional. There was no emotion in it. We already didn't like the principal. But then to like bring that in, and I was like, I guess I'll finish out the year and hope I don't cry during class. I mean, I suppose. But again, I didn't have a lot of power and boundaries and standing up for myself then. But I left feeling icky. I was like, I'm going to get back to you. But my decision was that I would finish out the school year and then be done with the education. And she was just like, okay.
Wow.
No like consolation, no flower, like nothing. And I think that has shaped who I am right now, is because I hate a transactional relationship. If I'm interacting with somebody, it's very much like I need to know your soul, your heart. Are you okay? Like, and so that was just like one of those turning points in my life. Like I have to figure out how to make money or have a career that is not dependent on somebody putting time on my grief.
Yeah.
Time on how long my kid's going to be sick, or I can't take any more time off to be with my sick child because I used it all. And that was not okay with me at all. And so just kind of led into teaching online and That was way more lucrative than the classroom.
Wow.
And flexible. I was done by 9 a.m. every day. I got to be with Zion, who was 1 year old at the time, and that just kind of sparked entrepreneurship for me and the time freedom of all of them. And for me, it's never about the money. It's about the freedom that comes along with having.
Absolutely. The money's the tool.
Yeah, having the money. So it's just kind of set me up for where I am right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. It's so cool that, or I love that you were in a situation where you were not being respected with the school, not understanding that you just lost your mother pretty, abruptly. You didn't know that was going to happen. You weren't prepared. No one's prepared for that, right? But you were in a situation where you lost your mother and the school was telling you, you can't take time off for that. We need you to come and show up for work. And you're like, no. The answer is no. I'm going to show up for my family first. Yeah. And that's so powerful, because then that led you to exactly like what you said, where you are today.
Yeah.
Which is you're able to be with your children. If, something happens in your family, you're able to be there. And you maybe didn't have or feel like you had power of choice in the past. But in that moment, you changed everything for yourself.
Yeah.
Because you decided you had the power of choice. And you stood up for yourself and your whole family by doing that.
Yeah. And it's gnarly to look back on, right? Because you're kind of, I think during that time, I think it was 2016, I was very much in my life. New mom, postpartum, new wife.
Yes.
Even though we had been together at that time for probably 8-9 years. But as I was starting to change into the woman I feel like I was called to be, there was a lot of friction with that from my marriage, and that was just super hard. It was very hard to handle and deal with, and I didn't believe that I had the power then to speak up for myself. Yeah. Even though I could have just marched out of the office and saying I'm done, but I owed it to the children. Yeah. To stick through it, but looking back, I should have just walked away. But everything happens, I think, for us, not to us, and it certainly has been an interesting ride, and so it's cool.
I wasn't prepared for you to cry.
I'll cry all day long. I'm a crier. But yeah, it certainly, it put a fire under my butt to figure it out.
Yes.
And I know that I'm a resourceful individual.
Yes.
And so when we decided to move, that was in Tampa. So we decided to move back home. Jarius, my ex-husband, moved first with Zion. And I stayed in Tampa alone.
Wow.
And it was almost like we had 50-50 custody, essentially.
Yeah.
So he got a job back here, and he moved into the home where my mom was living. And I finished the school year out in Tampa alone. And we would see each other on weekends.
Yeah.
My new baby, we'd see him on weekends.
Aww.
And, but it was the most healing thing that he could have done for me. And I cry more now than I did when I should have been by myself, but it allowed me to just rest and to build my online teaching platform.
Yeah.
So that when I did leave Tampa, I was set up in terms of a career, essentially, that would transition me into being my own business owner.
Yeah.
So that is honestly, outside of the children, one of the greatest gifts that he did give to me, despite his tendencies to not be such a gentleman. And it allowed me to just sit in it, find out what brought me a lot of joy, and I slept a lot and got to hang out with my friends and just be an individual, even though I was grieving in the middle of all of it.
Yeah.
So, but it was a really interesting time in my life. But yeah. So life is such an intricate and difficult yet joyful experience. And before my mom passed, I did have acquaintances in the family that did pass away. But through my YouTube University of Ed Milet and Eric Thomas, they're my favorite individuals at that time. Yeah. It was very much that thought process of people are going to die. People are going to, your life is going to be consumed with a lot of money or a little bit of money. You're going to get hurt. Cars are going to crash. Your house is going to catch on fire. Not that it's going to happen all at once, but it could happen.
Yes.
But it's about our perspective around it. And so we have to prepare our mind and our body and our spirit for when those moments in our life happen, so that it doesn't sideswipe us or left hook us and catch us, or get our mentality and spirit down. Yeah. And I think having that mentality has allowed me to be super flexible when life happens. And it did happen. More life happened to me after my mom passed away. Yeah. And I do thank my personal development, my meditation, my prayer, my circle of women, and just family members who were there to kind of buffer as I kind of bounced around. But I think my greatest attribute is my ability to see the light in the situation. And I used to think it was toxic positivity, but I really do think it's just training my mind to see that there is something in this that I need to learn.
Absolutely.
Or I'm being little pressed down, shaken together, molded into something that I don't know what God has for me yet, but this is a step in preparation to what that is.
Do you also think that that is because that's the track record, right? So for me, my track record shows in life that God gets me through. God always makes a way. And my track record shows that I'm always able to figure it out. Is that where that comes from?
That is an experience with me as well. And it does. But I didn't have a lot of life happen to me. You know, you do experience people's stories who everybody dies in their family constantly, all the time. Or they have a povertish mindset, or they come from a seriously abusive background and they cannot get out of it. But for me, it was like I lived in this fairy tale world on a cloud, and I was just walking, and sunshine always found me. It wasn't something that I just had. I mean, maybe it is something that I have, but I think it has a lot to do with my mindset and how I see the world and the lens of gratitude that I see every situation and interaction. And it's just, I always think about, if I get a flat tire, it's like this prevented me from an accident down the road. Every time. And to some people who don't have that mindset, they hate it. They hate it. My ex-husband had that mindset. He's like, how do you see the positive in every situation? And I'm like, what other option do we have?
Where did that mindset come from? Because I think, and maybe for you it's just natural. I think I had to learn that a bit more. I know when things are out of a line for me, when I'm in traffic and I'm starting to get really angry. I'm like, if this is really pissing me off right now, I need to go work on some things. Like, there's something going on, because that shouldn't, because there's one thing about, people in my family or that I've been close to growing up always say, oh, it's always something. Yes, correct.
Yeah, it's
always something, because that's life. People do pass away. Tires do, go flat. That is life. So if we just roll with the punches and just accept, okay, I don't know why this is happening, but let's figure it out. I mean, that that mindset shift is massive.
Yes. I do think for most women, that shift is essential. You need to have that shift. And you would think the shift comes when you have children. It doesn't.
No.
It brings more anxiety around it. And when I had my son, it created a very controlling mindset around my life. So everything had to be, the breast milk had to be the temperature, first child syndrome.
Yes.
Everything. You can't feed him. I have to feed him. And it was like all of these, I was so high strung. And I was like, that's not who I need to be. So, this, second kid syndrome is, she's fine.
Yeah. They'll survive.
She doesn't need that right now. She ate dirt earlier. It's okay. But it definitely is a track record with me as well that I think it comes from people pleasing too, a little bit of that as a child.
Yeah.
Let's make everybody happy, so be happy.
Yeah.
So I think it's an essential part though to finding the joy in your life is to have that mentality of it happens for me, not to me. It's like, I do think people also think the world is out to get them.
Yes.
That is a thought process and a pattern. Like how the nail just was in the road just to sabotage you. That seems impossible when you understand how the world works and energies and things like that. But even yesterday I had the kids and we had to get to football all the way in Wildwood, and I'm timely. It's part of my quality character trait. If you're not timely, it doesn't work out, especially for sports. And I thought I had everything packed. I get all the way to Bellevue exit and there's no cleats in the bag.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh man. And we're all in a state of gratitude watching the sunrise. And it's like, look, let me take a picture. So I was like, whoa, look at the colors. Like, we're just vibing on the road and there's no traffic. And then Holy Spirit was like, you don't have the cleats. I was like, Zion, you better climb back there and see the cleats. We only got one option, this exit, or you're not playing, or we got to go all the way down and come back. And he's like, they're not here. And I was like, oh. But if they're really, really early or really, really late.
Oh, yeah,
so I had to go all the way back, drive 25 more minutes back, and then 25 minutes back, and then I had to get gas. And Zion's like, man, we're going to be late. I said, no, it's okay.
Yeah, it happens.
Fine. Game doesn't start till 9:30.
Yeah.
Like, we got plenty of time. And so, but old me would have been super manic about that.
Yeah.
Like, especially if ex-husband was in the car and we're late because of him or our dynamic. But I'm just so much calmer knowing we avoided something up the road. I don't know what it was.
I love that. You're passing that mentality on to your children.
Yeah. And normally they would have been like super frustrated and anxious as well because they're feeding off of me.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's all right. They're like, why do you have the timer thing on? You don't know how to get to the house? I was like, I'm just checking the time, man. That's all. Checking the time.
Yeah.
But so I always do feel that. And I don't think it's toxic positivity anymore. I just think it's training in my mind.
Well, I think toxic positivity is when you don't acknowledge that there is friction. And gosh, I feel like my past 5 years, which is almost my oldest son's entire little life, the past 5 years has been so much friction. But now when I come to a point of friction in my life, I recognize it and I'm like, wait a second. I've been here before. Something's about to happen.
Yep.
There's a shift about to happen. God's up to something. What am I supposed to learn? How can I leverage this for myself, for my children, for people around me? Like, what can I learn here? What am I supposed to learn? And so those points of friction, I can use, they're for my benefit.
Yeah.
They help me in the future. They, so when friction comes, I don't panic anymore. And that's why I tell my team of performers, live events and entertainment in general is, you can have an itinerary, you can have a plan, but oftentimes it goes out the window. And I tell my team and my children all the time, we don't panic, we problem solve. And it's that figured out mentality you were talking about earlier, that if there's one thing, well, there's a couple things, but there's one thing I can teach my children, it's you can figure it out.
100%.
And we, that's so important to just to know about yourself that no matter what happens, medical diagnosis, you have no income, or your financial situation is dreadful or terrifying.
Yeah.
Whatever happens, okay, this is my situation. I'm gonna accept it for what it is, but I can figure it out.
Yeah, and also another shift with me was from moving from being in my life to being an observer of my life and the people who I'm interacting with. Because when you're in it and you're in the chaos and you're in the middle of the storm, it is like bananas.
Yes.
And you can feel, if you're in tune with yourself, you can feel it all like just vibrating at such a chaotic level.
Yes.
And then you react instead of respond. So being that I've been able to just observe and pause and soak it in and then have a response to it, whether it's my children, our custody sharing situation, interactions with the community, people. It's just so different when you can just observe behaviors and then you can posture up and say, he's angry, but it's really fear.
Yeah,
he's afraid, but there's something else deeper, and we're going to have to dive into that. But it allows me to be a softer individual to the chaos than participate in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, don't let the tornado sweep you up, I tell that to women I've coached, that individual you're dealing with or life right now is a tornado, and you have a choice. Whether you can, go take cover, not run away from it, but just, you don't have to get swept up in that tornado of thoughts, emotions, feelings.
Yeah.
Your current situation, it doesn't have to take you over.
It doesn't.
Not at all. And what you also said about just awareness is so key. If you have self-awareness, I think that's one of the biggest things that can help you in any situation.
And I think the only way to tap into that is to be by yourself, to create spaces for yourself that you can go into your body and just listen.
Reflect.
And most women that I come in contact with right now in my life, they don't have the ability to just be by themselves and be their own friend. And there's many facets of being alone, and it's just, even if you do have a family and children, it's creating those Sabbath moments for yourself in the day, whether I need it every day.
Me too.
I need it every single day. But some don't, and that's okay. But also getting your children involved in what that looks like and letting them know that it's important to go inward and to just be and rest and quiet and calm. And whether you're drawing, writing, journaling, listening to a little bit of music, but we don't always have to fill our lives with all of these things, because really it's just you're avoiding the hard feelings. And you can't change or morph those feelings until you sit with them and experience, like, why am I angry? What are some other feeling words? Understanding feeling words is huge. And it seems so trivial and minor, but it's more than just angry, sad, mad. They're like really deep adjectives that can go into feelings, and recognizing that. Atlas of the Heart from Brene Brown is an amazing book that I thought I was going to be able to read it cover to cover, but it's heavy.
Yeah, you sent that to me before.
Yes, and I use it as an encyclopedia for my feelings, and she goes into it, and so it's like, okay, I'm feeling very frustrated today. What is that?
Yes.
And she has that feeling, and then the whole description of it, and from her studies and her knowledge, and I'm just like, oof.
Yeah. That relates so much back to what I help women with, which is inner story work. So what we do with that is, like you said, you can recognize, I am frustrated today. I am angry. What's going on? So then you can dive back and do inner reflection about what's going on? What's that inner dialogue? Okay, I'm frustrated. Okay, why? And you just keep asking yourself why and dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you realize, oh, I'm actually angry with myself because I'm not getting to my to-do list. The kids are sick and they can't go to school. Okay, I'm a failure. Like, you don't realize that you're telling yourself this inner story that directly affects how you're feeling on a regular, consistent basis. You know, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but I think you've probably dealt with, which we all deal with, some low self-worth. And our self-worth is directly, you know, correlates to that story that we're telling ourselves on a consistent basis. So, you know, I've found myself in the past telling the story of, I'm worthless, I have nothing to offer, why me, you know, I have, you know, et cetera, all these negative thoughts about myself. And if I am first telling myself, you're worthless, like, everyone else is going to believe that. 100%. So performing 101 is, you have to believe the story that you're telling yourself. You have to believe you are the character that you are on stage first before your audience believes that. Yes. So if my inner story is, I'm worthless, I have nothing to offer, you know, why would anyone choose me? Why, you know, all this negative self-talk, my audience is going to believe that.
Oh, for sure.
And, you know, so it's teaching ourselves, like, to believe something different about ourselves, which I think also, growing up in the church, I think we were taught, or maybe I was taught, worthlessness instead of humility, which is the opposite.
That's
you
so
know,
bad.
We're taught, you're absolutely nothing, you're dirt. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that, but that's, you know, that's not true.
No, it's not. And there's many ways that you can fill that, you know, spiritual cup up. Tons of things to do, but it matters because, and here's a really great analogy about that. So Zion, he's 8, he's been playing football. This is his first tackle season and he is killing it. He's a great athlete. But they came into the game, which is their last game on Saturday. Well, one, I was late, so maybe that helped. But I was trying to, like, pep them up, you know, in the ride, listening to some, like, hype music, getting excited. But you could see how the boys walked on the field. The way they walked on the field, I already knew determined their outcome. They lost 14-40.
Wow.
They've lost 3 games, but never with that amount of difference.
Yeah.
But their spirit was already broken before they got into that field.
Yeah.
Even my son. Yeah. And I don't know if his spirit was broken or he was just over it.
Yeah.
But because if they won, they went to playoffs. If they lost, they're done.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, their head was just like, their body language was down, and you can tell how their arms were hanging, how they felt about themselves.
Yeah.
And granted, the boys were a little bit bigger. They were one man was fast, one boy was fast, but that was it. They just weren't even living up to their potential of what they've done all season.
Yeah.
And then, and it's just every day you wake up and you have to decide who you're going to be and how you're going to live out that person that you're meant to be. And it starts right in the morning.
One that you choose to be. You know, it's our choice.
It is a choice. Joy and peace and happiness, they are a choice.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to get to those natural, like, homeostasis of those spirits, those fruits of the spirits, essentially. But it's like the precursor to that is having boundaries and hearing that story we're telling ourselves. I didn't do my to-do list. I had to do this. Or how about I get to do the dishes? I hate the dishes. I hate the laundry. Dishes. I hate everything about cleaning a house. I don't like any of it.
I hate it.
And I even fall short of having gratitude when doing that. There's 12 baskets of laundry. They're folded, but I don't want to get to do it today or whatever that is. But and I learned too, as a new mom, I had 0 boundaries. 0.
Yep.
0. I didn't feel like I was worthy enough to have time by myself.
Yeah.
I couldn't even ask for help. Yet everybody had hands out wanting to help in any way possible. Yeah. But I didn't have the power in me to even ask or know that I didn't believe that anybody else was capable of doing the job that I could do. And I'm like, go for it.
Yeah, please.
Please.
Help me. I need help.
You can do it better than I can, actually. So take it on.
One thing you talked about was a little bit of loneliness, but also just alone time. I don't know about you, and it kind of sounds maybe that we're similar in this way, but I hated alone time.
Not
growing up.
Oh, growing up?
Yeah, growing up. Hated it. you know, and I think that probably fed into my eating disorder that I had a little bit.
Yeah.
For 10 years of my life. But I hated being alone, like alone in the house. It just, you know, now it's like, oh, I'm alone in my house. This is so peaceful. Back then it was, I'm alone in my house and I'm alone. I don't know. I mean, we can dive into that even more later. That's, you know, 2-hour conversation. But I hated alone time. And I don't think that was a healthy mindset for me to have entered a marriage, you know, but I hated
attachment
alone
style.
time.
Yeah,
it was absolutely. Absolutely. But now I love alone time. And I think it's because now I'm good with me. I'm okay with me. And it's not this mentality of, I don't need anybody else. I don't like that.
Yeah,
so
I don't
defensive.
like that. It's so defensive.
No, it's not that I don't need anybody else. I know I need other people. But I know that I'm good with me and I like me.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes, or for me anyway, I think I grew up, unfortunately, being taught to like not like myself. You know, and it's that worthlessness piece over humility.
Yeah.
It just was like one extreme. But I actually have my kids repeat after me in the mornings on the way to school because I want them to like themselves.
Yeah.
If we can't like ourselves or spend alone time with ourselves, know that, you know, we can take care of ourselves. We can't give that out to anybody else.
Right.
You know, we can't help anybody else. So I have my kids repeat after me on the way to school.
Love it.
I say, okay, babies, repeat after me. My name is Mommy. And they'll say their names. And I love me. And I love my life. And I make good choices. And I trust myself.
Love it.
And today I choose that it's going to be a great day.
Love it.
And that's the thing. Everything in our lives, like, it's what we choose. When we realize, like we were talking about earlier, that every little thing in our life, like, we have the power to choose. Even if you don't feel like that. I think that's what Women of Character is all about. Offering hope that I've been there, you've been there, where we think and feel, and the story we're telling ourselves is, we don't have choice. We're stuck.
Yes.
We don't see a way out, right? Because we're in the middle of the storm and the chaos.
Yeah.
But when we realize, wait a second, you know, it might take some work, some strategy here, but I do have the power of choice and to choose and to change my circumstances today.
Yeah.
That's game changing.
100%.
It's life changing.
Yes. And it's like, even though that way is where I'm supposed to go, like, you just have to walk through like the cloud and walk out of it.
Yes.
And then it's like, like all of you're like, wow. Yeah. And that's what I think often, wow, is this what it feels like to have peace?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, I'm supposed to have peace in my marriage, and I did not feel this there.
Yeah.
For a very long time.
Yeah.
But being too young to even understand what a good, healthy marriage looks like. I didn't have any of that modeled. But, I like the peace. I'm kind of the opposite from you, though. I loved being by myself in my safe, peaceful, quiet place. Yeah. My mom was very extrovert. She taught drama in church. We were at church a lot. We were raised in the church, all of the things. But being my sister and my brother were a bit chaotic. My room with my dollhouse and my Cinderella cart and the cats used in my animals, and like, that was super peaceful to me. And being at the ball field with my dad and my brother, like, that was always fun. We were super close together. But as I got older, I had a terrible anxiety issue. The spirit of fear was like all in me all the time. I remember they used to try to pray it. You know, you go to altar call. Yes. I'm probably like 8, 9, 10. And if you know, in a larger church, it's like kind of scary, like, to be walked up there and know, like, they're like laying hands on me and like trying to rebuke out the spirit of fear. I'm like, nobody's even talking to me about what this is. Yeah. Like, and there's not internet back then to like Google it.
What is the spirit of fear? Oh my God.
How to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But anxiety was also not a thing then.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it.
Not at all. Not especially in a child.
Yeah.
But I used to always complain of stomach aches. I didn't talk a lot. Yeah. There were friends who were like, does your daughter speak?
Wow.
I didn't speak a lot at all. I just was this
compliant.
Compliant is the best word to think about it. Yeah. And to think how opposite India is. Yeah. She is not compliant. Yeah. And I tell her, encourage her, if somebody's forcing you to do something, you speak your truth. Yeah. But she doesn't want to be put in a box. And I celebrate that.
Absolutely.
It's a lot to be a parent to that.
It is.
But I always wonder if that's who I was supposed to be, you know, at that young age. But anyways, the anxiety was crippling. I never left the house.
Yeah.
I would always had to be with my parent, a parent, spending the night places. I mean, back then it was a little safer, you know, than it is now. But I would get to a point where it would be nighttime and I would hysterically cry and my mom would come pick me up. Not until the 9th grade. All that time. And I met a friend who was extroverted, this is the one I went to Spain with, and she broke me out of that bubble.
Yeah.
My mom said, I'm not coming to get you.
Wow.
I'm not coming to get you.
Yeah.
She is a safe place.
Yeah.
I trust her.
Yeah.
I trust her family. And I felt like I trusted her family, and I did. But she's like, don't call me. Don't call me. She pushed me off the edge. Yeah. And I needed that. Because if I didn't get pushed off the edge, I would still think that fear and anxiety served me.
Yeah.
It was
you clung to it. You would still have done that. Yeah.
Because everything, as a kid, you think you create this safe space, a house that you can live in because you can control it and that's what's safe to you.
Yeah.
And it just didn't serve me anymore. When I was in 9th grade, I was 14, and to think that it was like every day going to school was like a chore. Yeah, it was in the middle of class crying. I have to go to the guidance counselor, like just ashamed of the feelings that were inside of me, but I didn't know how to talk about them. Yeah, and then the guidance counselor is very much like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, what's really going on?
What's wrong with you, not what happened to you.
Which we love that change of question there.
And so learning now, thank God my mom kicked me out of the off the cliff. Yeah. Because it just that's when the joy opened up in my life. And I didn't have a lot of joy. It wasn't a lot of sunshine that I felt on my skin. Not saying that my parents didn't do anything to me. They didn't. No. It was just how my body received the chaos in my house. And I was like, I can't have that chaos. So when it started to form in my marriage and now we're having children, I was like, this is not okay.
Well, you talked about the things that you were clinging to were fear
and anxiety.
Heavy. Yeah. And you know, it's questions like that are like, what is that story that I'm telling myself? What is that inner story? What things am I clinging to? And what is serving me? You know, because I know that, okay, I can be super angry right now that I got a flat tire and I'm going to be late for this and I'm not going to get to my to-do list. How is that going to serve me? How is anger going to serve me? You know, how is wasting energy on, you know, whatever, you know, going to serve me? So then you got to channel that energy somewhere else.
And it blocks your access to resources. I've learned if I stay in this anxious, fear-ridden state, it's almost like a cloud that comes in my mind that I'm not able to tap into the resourcefulness, the creativity that I'm blessed with, the village that I've created. But I can only access those resources if I'm vulnerable. If I say, hey, Lindsay, yo, I got a flat tire. I don't have a spare. I need you to come pick me up. And to not come from a state of I'm inconveniencing her. Yes. She's going to have to put all in my head. She has to put her kids in the car. Maybe she's not in town. She's got to stop what she's doing. But you have the right to have a boundary too and say, hey, I'm not able to do it, but maybe my dad can come and pick you up. Yes. So I tap in.
How else can I help?
I not only tap into your resource, you're funneling me out, but I cannot access that until I'm vulnerable. Hey, I'm really in a depressed state. Can you cook us a meal? That's something you always offer, and I need to just say yes to you. But you have to just be able to say, this isn't serving me. I cannot stay in this state. Let me feel it. You can sit there and feel it.
Yeah.
We'd appreciate if we could feel it,
Yes.
but sometimes we can't. We have to access it again later.
Yeah.
When we reflect on our day.
No, it's true.
So going back to what you were saying about having the women of character and those traits, what
Yeah.
those look like
Yeah.
that have helped build you stronger.
Yeah.
So the kids have been mentioning about their dad's house, which is the house we bought together
Yeah.
in our marriage. And it's just really big, and I kept it organized, kept it together. Mom's gone now.
Yeah.
It's not that way. So
Yeah.
the kids have constantly been saying, it's messy, it's this, it's, I'm like, well, you gotta help. He's like, no, it's messy.
Yeah.
So I don't go over there often. And it was just put on my heart to go, to ask, say, hey, I wanna bless you, I wanna bless the kids. Can I come over and purge?
Wow.
Because I'm sure there's still baby clothes. Like, when I left, I took my Vitamix. That's all I took.
Oh my God. The important things and the children.
Oh, and the children. And my cheese fridge. I don't want out of
The
it.
essentials.
I don't want anything.
Cheese.
Oh, my damn Vitamix.
Kids. Vitamin.
Cheese fridge, please. Thank you. And my Vitamix, and we can figure the rest out. And I went with nothing.
Yeah.
I went into that town home with nothing. But we'll go back to that story.
Yeah.
So anyways, I kind of go there randomly, but it's all the way on the other side of town, so it's not my first choice. But it was put on my heart, like, you got to go in there.
Yeah.
You got to go. And so he's kind of like, sure, whatever, it's
Yeah.
fine. Doesn't really understand why I'm doing it, but okay. So I'm pushing him.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do this for the children. That's their love language, acts of service. Like, let me do this for them.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, I think they need a touch of you over there, like to feel your love. And after Spain being gone for so
Yes.
long, for like 12 days, they were like,
Casual.
where's my mother?
Yeah.
So I went, and one, it took a lot of courage for me to go over there, to set my personal feelings aside about this home.
That's an insane amount of courage.
So much. and I learned that I am healing, that I was able to go over there without a judgy lens.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, I'm not there to shame you.
No.
I'm not there to judge what the state of the house looks like. None of that. I'm here for the service of our children,
Yeah.
for their joy, because that's what we're in this together at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. He's just like, don't mind
Yeah.
the mess.
Yeah.
But the state of his home was the state of how he is right now. And that was sad
Yeah.
to witness and experience.
Absolutely.
And got the feng shui all good, and put the diffuser on, saged it, put the worship music on.
Saged it.
I know.
Laid hands
Cleaned
at every
the
door.
fridge. I was like,
Yeah.
why is there so much mold in here?
Oh my God.
I made him dinner. I made him cornbread. I was like, I said, I tried my best with what you have in this bachelor pantry. I don't know why, but you had some spices. So I made you a 3-bean chili and some cornbread.
Wow.
And I didn't cry 1 ounce over there. There was no sad emotion, only empathy.
Beautiful.
For him as a man.
Yeah.
And to know that I was what was bringing the joy to his life, that he cannot manufacture his own joy and peace.
Yeah.
And that makes me sad, but I know it's not my responsibility to manufacture that in him. But I left feeling like, I felt good. I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
So much strength though, so much courage, and to set my own feelings aside about our relationship, which it's a cordial relationship.
Yeah.
But like the babies at the end of the day, like God, what we would do for them, it's so amazing.
Yeah.
But there's so much courage in that, having a divorce relationship.
Yeah, there is.
In it, and that's just the state that I'm feeling at the moment with him and all of it.
Yeah.
Do you think you could have done something like that in the beginning?
No, not at all. I didn't even want to set foot in that home after I left, and I didn't realize how much chaos was in the home until I was gone from it for a while, and then I stepped back into it, and I was like, this is the energy that I was living in.
Yeah.
But no, a year ago, because it's been a full year. Actually, I left in July of last year, But there were so many emotions, mainly from him. All the emotions, all of his feelings towards me, that none of which, it was rooted in love, but he didn't know how to express it in gratitude.
Yeah.
It came out in anger, frustration, resentment, shame, all of it. And those feelings were just bouncing off the wall, and I could feel them.
Yeah.
I was like, you be gone.
Yeah.
I was like, if he comes home right now, he's going to be like, what's happening? But no, I feel so much stronger than I was last year at this season. And the strength has only come because I've sat with the feelings for a long time, for this past year. And go to therapy and pray, meditate, and journal, and all of the things that you need to have in place to heal.
Yeah. So you are a single mom of 2.
Yes.
You're divorced. You're a multi-business owner. Hello. You've lost a parent. You've been through a lot of big things, right? Those are a lot of big events.
Big events.
So out of all those things, what virtues and character traits, would you say have been the biggest ones you've really had to embrace? We kind of talked about it earlier. Courage.
Yeah.
Is one.
Courage, love, love of myself, love of those around me, vulnerability. That's I think the courage first, then vulnerability is second. Because like I said, I left with the Vitamix in the fridge in a 1.5 townhome.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, when I made the decision in May of last year to leave, I was like, how am I going to live in this house? Because I know how he's going to react to this, that he's losing his whole life.
Yes.
I know that's how he's going to react. Is it going to get worse? Because verbal abuse was sure there.
Yeah.
Is it going to escalate?
Right.
Do I feel safe? Can I stay here? What is it? But it wasn't only until I told my aunt, who I hadn't seen in a while, I'm looking for a place to stay. She's like, oh, your cousin owns a townhome. It's going to be up in July. Can you make it till July? And I was like, I guess I'm going to have to.
Yeah, July it is.
Because I had no idea. 7 years we lived in that house, and before it was in Tampa, so long to have to, and I've never been on my own.
Yeah.
Ever. Right from my parents' house to him living together, for 17 years.
Yeah.
We were together. And so I had to be vulnerable and share my heart. I said this to him. I don't want to be in the marriage, but I don't know where to go.
Yeah.
Did I have extra money to do First Love? Nope.
No.
Did not, because he was also financially abusing all the things as well.
Yeah.
So she's like, if you can make it till July, it's yours.
Wow.
They're not going to do background check. They're not going to ask for security. They're not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's your cousin.
Yes.
Get in there, and he knows you're going to take care of the place. It's fine. And that's what I did. And I didn't have anything. The first night we had pillows and a blanket, and I said I don't know if you were in the text link, but my tribe, I said, I'm doing it. This is my move-in date. I need everything.
Yes.
Everything. We have our clothes. I need down to a washcloth or a hand towel to a can opener.
Yeah.
I literally brought nothing.
Yeah, you had nothing.
My kitchen is my life. I brought nothing.
Yeah.
Not even a spice.
Yeah.
I was like, you have it.
I really like that story, because what I say is, if you don't have character, you don't have anything. Right? Because sometimes you can have all the things in life. Sometimes you can have the big house, the cars, the clothes, the financial security, which really isn't security. But I say that's the whole purpose, again, of women of character. If you don't have character first, what do you actually have? Because when hard times come, you're going to crumble real fast.
100%.
When things don't go your way, when financial troubles come, when health problems come, when you go through a struggle with a child, illness, learning disabilities, all the things. When you go through anything in life, if you don't have character first, what on earth do you have? So my goal here of Women of Character is to do foundational work, and it's just like in performing. I talk about it all the time, how you layer. You first, you talk like the character that you're trying to portray. You talk about things they would talk about. Then you have a nice costume. Then you have a wig. Then makeup. Your accent. It's layering. So the foundation is for you to, have core character.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
For sure. And so after I sent that message to my people, everything. My stepmom got everything.
Yeah.
Down, like I said, down to the coffee spoon, the appropriate spoon you're supposed to stir your coffee with.
Ooh,
That
never
one.
had one of those.
I was like, I don't know what that is. What's this? But it was all outfitted, all of it. We didn't have a couch for many months or a few weeks until I found one at Brother's Keeper because I love a good vintage find. But even the beds, the sheets, the pillows, they even gave toys.
And that takes so much courage to make a move like that when you don't have, you're not leaving for comfort.
But one of the things is I've never asked my tribe for anything. I was the one who was always giving all of the time.
Yeah.
And even when I was sick or we had COVID together jointly and we had to parent, never once did I say, I need you to take the children.
Yeah.
Or, hey, can you drop off applesauce because that's all we can eat. I didn't even have the power in that part of my life to ask because deep down maybe I didn't feel worthy of their time that they would take to care for me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's a whole nother childhood trauma conversation.
I can see it.
I learned from the move and the contributions from my tribe that all I have to do from now on is ask. And that if they say no, it's not because they don't like me, I'm not a bad person, they're not available.
Yeah.
So let me keep asking until I get a need met, especially if I'm in need.
Yeah.
And it only came from having the courage to be vulnerable and ask.
That even goes back to what you're telling yourself, your inner story, because if you ask someone for help and they say, no, I can't right now, I'm driving around my own 2 kids or something else is going on with them, then, in the past I'd be like, oh, they don't care about me. I'm not worth it. They don't want to give me their energy. I have no friends.
This is why I never ask anybody and do it all myself.
Exactly. I'm all alone. No, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's not that. It's that. Again, it's that the inner story that you're telling yourself affects literally everything.
Everything.
If you can get that right, you can change your life. You don't have to live in that black and white thinking.
Exactly.
All or nothing mentality.
Because life is not black and white. There are certain things for sure, right and wrong, but all of the everyday things, it's not. Not. And you just have to tap into it and realize I am important enough to live the life that I'm supposed to have.
Yeah, you're worth it. So something that I tell my performers all the time is you are not on clearance. You're full price.
Amen to that.
Because I had one of my performers, a younger girl, come to me and she was talking about dating and a guy wasn't, being very respectful of her. And I said, let me tell you something. He's misinformed.
Yeah.
He thinks that you're on sale. And baby, you are full price. And so it's become a little hashtag, if for our performer group, if we're ever someone's feeling down or going through a rough time, we're like, baby, just remember you're full price.
Exactly.
And it's not this haughty, I deserve everything attitude.
No,
it doesn't have to be. He doesn't know what he's missing.
No.
It's nothing to do with the other person.
Just know your worth.
You have, inherent value. And everybody has that. If we believe, and I think most people believe that everyone, just as they are, of course, God believes this about us and tells us this is true, but if every single person in this world has just inherent value for existing, why do we not give that to ourselves?
And it's the question of the century, that one.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's just life, because I do think people don't start off with that whole concept of life happens for us. It is life happens to us. And you can't. So case in point, my mom was dying and then his ex-husband's dad passed away. So the father-in-law passed away consecutively, randomly with a heart attack. So meanwhile, I'm trying to grow and allow, okay, this is for me. What am I learning? I knew she was sick. She was going to pass away. What did I have in place to help myself cope?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he was getting pressed down by life.
Yeah.
And it took a serious toll, and it still is,
Yeah.
because life is still happening.
And it always will. It doesn't stop.
Always. So meanwhile, we're doing this, right? He's going lower and lower and lower, despite I'm reaching, hey, encouraging, loving, all the things. And I saw it happen. And you see it, and you can see it in someone's eyes.
Yeah.
When life is getting them.
Yeah.
They are getting smashed left and right by the waves. And I'm like, you gotta just stand up. You ever seen a kid that can't swim in the shallow end?
Yes.
It's like comical, but also like these are adults too in life. Like, I'm like, baby, stand up.
Yes.
Just your feet, and I won't help it. Your feet are there.
Yes.
Stand up.
Yeah.
And then they stand up and they're like all happy. I'm like, you were drowning in the shallow end, and you just had to stand up.
Yeah. That's good.
It's crazy.
That is great.
So it goes back to your, like, get up.
Yeah.
You have to get up.
Yeah.
You fall in the middle of a race, you better get up.
Yeah.
Zion falls, he tripped, you get up.
Yeah. Well, and all these events are like in the shallow end are preparing us for the deep end. You know, we want bigger things, but we have to go through a season of pruning and preparing first, which is frustrating. You know, and that's where now, if I'm in a season of friction or if something's going quote unquote wrong in my life, I'm like, okay, I'll accept this because I know track record shows I'm being prepared for something. God, what are you preparing me for?
I'm like, just tell me.
I know.
This
Would
would
you
make our
just
life a
tell
lot easier.
I know. It would.
Then I can, like,
A little clarity.
a little
clarity.
bit. Like, just show me
Yeah.
in the clouds. Like, write it real fast for me,
Yeah.
and then we just move on.
I know.
But I haven't heard the thing yet.
I got you a little something for coming and chatting with me today. I have a lot of different symbols that I like to use with women of character. So we have the butterfly, which I love that you're wearing a butterfly necklace today, because that represents change and transition, transformation, which is what we're all about here at Women of Character, which I actually love. So myself being a former Disney princess, my favorite Disney movie is Cinderella live action. And it's beautiful because there are so many butterflies in that movie. And the reasoning is because Walt Disney loved butterflies because they resembled or meant transformation. And he was all about that. He transformed, so much. And he was very a visionary and all these things. So I love the whole concept of butterflies, where you cocoon for a bit. You're the caterpillar, you go into that cocoon, and then you can finally break free and spread your wings. And, I think we as women, and that's the journey that I take you on here at Women of Character.
Love it.
But also another thing that you can open it, another symbol that we kind of talk about here often.
Ooh, some gold hoops.
Gold hoop.
I love it. I got them on.
I know.
I
Thank
knew.
you for wearing
I
everything.
knew. Love it.
I love wearing gold hoops, and I don't know about you. I've talked with many
do.
of my other friends who truly, if I'm having a bad day, I'll throw on a pair of gold hoops, and I'm like, I can do anything with a pair of gold hoops.
Yes.
And it's kind of become a thing.
I love
So
it.
I have a lot of friends who will text me, Lindsay, I was having a really rough morning, but I threw on my gold hoops and I feel so much better.
Oh, so
it's
good.
just that principle of, like, even if it's so small, of putting on a little pair of gold hoops to make yourself feel better. Like, do something for you,
Yes.
fill up your cup, and then you can pour out, for other people.
Love it.
Same thing with on the airplane. They tell you, you have to first put your oxygen mask on
Oh, yeah.
first.
Yeah, that
before
part.
you can save everyone else. And you're like, is that how it's supposed to go?
Yes. Yeah. It's like dopamine dressing, putting things on that bring
Yeah,
you joy and
absolutely.
make you feel good.
Gold hoop.
I love the gold hoops.
You can do
Thank
anything.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Dopamine dressing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
All I could think of was like ranch dressing.
Yeah.
That sounds like it.
That sounds good.
Oh.
But I wanted to talk about another virtue because
Yes.
she just mentioned one when we were talking about Brooke, but
Yeah.
grace
Yes.
is a huge virtue, and I have leaned into that a lot this year, especially because of having the platform of Nice Ladies.
Yes.
Shannon and I both are the face of Nice Ladies, and we are the movers and the shakers, the spearheaders of this organization. But with that comes a lot. You get the brunt
Yeah.
of the things. But in addition to the divorce and how I've kept my character intact, is I have to approach it with grace because there are other humans involved in this separation and this divorce and this new lifestyle. I can't go off the hinges. I could,
Yeah. Want to sometimes.
but that's not my character.
Yeah.
And going off the hinges doesn't serve me
Yes.
to where I'm trying to go.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of self-discipline to realize if I'm trying to be here,
Yeah.
how I'm acting here is going to either help me get
Yes.
to the destination or it's going to prevent me.
Yes.
And I take a lot of inspiration from you and your character, especially when you are performing, because you move with such grace and your spirit is that. But also when you're dealing with a large amount of women, you have to come from a place of love because they will quick to strike you back. And so this season has taught me a lot of grace, that how I handle my ex-husband with grace, and how I show up on my platform of my social media and interactions with other humans. It has to be from a place of grace and love.
Yeah.
Because innately that is who I am.
Yeah.
I know that to be true about myself. So if I come off the hinges or act a different way, it's not who I am. And that people can say, well, that is not her character.
Yes.
What happened to her
Yeah.
to make her be that way? Or are you sure that was
Yes.
her?
Are you talking about the same person?
Are you
I know?
sure? Right.
Yeah.
So I've been told a few times, especially with the divorce, you handle this situation with such grace. I'm like, what other way am I supposed to
Yeah.
handle it? They're like, well, if it was me, I would not have been as kind.
Sounds like you need women of character coaching.
Trying to lead you into your sales pitch a little bit, But so many women are like, what?
Yeah.
You didn't make him sell the house and
Yeah.
split the money? What? You didn't do X, Y, what?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
What, for what purpose?
In the same way, people often tell me, wow, Lindsay, you do so much, which of course my inner story is, I don't do anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I need to work on that, But so many people are like, how do you do it all? And sometimes I'm like, what other choice do I have? I have two children I need to care for. I have a home I still need to take care of. I have, I have to figure out income. But it is true. I still do have a choice. Mm-hmm. I still could be on the couch, but I'm not. I'm up trying to make things work. And so it's giving yourself grace and self-compassion and just, all those things to keep yourself going. And but grace towards yourself is so important too.
Yeah, and I think that question does stem from, how do you do it all and still look so put together? That's what I get.
Yeah.
I'm like, you think this is put together?
Yeah.
And I try to be as real and as honest and as candid. So if people ask me like the questions, I'm like, no. Last week I had one invoice when I used to have 20.
Yep. Well, and that's, we talk about this often. We'll text each other and voice memo each other all the time, but it's truly that facade of social media and that facade that, oh, their life must be easier.
Yeah.
Oh, that grass is greener syndrome. It's not true. Like, I oftentimes, I'm a single mom. 90% time sharing, 90% financial responsibility. That's tough.
It is tough.
But then if we're going to play the comparison game, well, I'm going to look at my friend who is struggling with her child who is having a terminal illness. I'm going to say, oh, I'm thankful for my struggle.
Right.
If we're comparing, I don't want that.
Yeah.
And you're grateful for, the hardships you do have.
Exactly. And it's like, we don't have to, I don't know why the narrative is, I have to have it all together.
No.
Who said that?
Yeah.
Who started that?
Yeah. Who started that?
Who started that?
Truly.
Because it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
And I'm at the park a lot and interacting with other parents, and even catch myself sometimes being that way. And I'm like, no, I don't need to tame your emotion right now. Sure, this is embarrassing that you're screaming in the store.
Yeah.
But you know what? Like, this is real life.
Yeah, get it out.
You get it out, so when we get in the car, you're not screaming in the
screaming
car.
the whole way home.
Okay. But you have to fight the demons of shame and embarrassment and the looks and all of it.
Yeah.
Right? And yet nobody ever helps you. Nobody ever comes up and says, hey, you're doing a good job. So I always try to. Like, if there's a mama, like,
Yes.
I'm buying you a soda.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing about women of, like, being a woman of character. We support other women.
Yes.
And being a nice lady, that's also what you're doing, which I was like, okay, I'm starting Women of Character. I want to hear from real women, real stories with real character. Who do I need to talk to? And I was like, Sabrina, nice ladies. That's a woman of character, right?
Thank you.
But that's what you're doing. You're building up other women.
Yes, building them up so that they feel the confidence that they can get up. They can jump on a really scary dream that they've been dreaming about. Like, just do it. You have the power within you to do it.
Yeah.
So we've given you the platform.
Yeah. So much. You know what happens in my house sometimes is the kids are crazy. They're not listening. They're acting out. They're speaking to me in a way that I'm like, excuse me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second. What am I doing? Because they mirror what I'm doing.
Yep.
You can tell how a child is parented by their actions.
Yes.
They mirror what happens to them in the home. Like children are telling. You know?
Very much so.
And so if ever like my kids get a bit chaotic or just, you know, something's not working.
Yeah.
If our
Vibes
little
are
team
off.
is not working, I'm like, wait a second. I need to take some quiet time.
Yep.
So if you will tell me an old inner story that you used to tell about yourself that you have changed and that has changed your life a bit.
I'm not capable of being a successful business owner.
Okay.
That was the biggest story. And it stemmed from not having a successful business and successful in the terms of actually having revenue that can make me not work a standard corporate type of job.
Yep.
For me, that was the measure of success for me. But with Grace and Prosper, in the middle of the divorce year, last year I hit 6 figures of revenue with Grace and Prosper. And to me, that was like, I did the damn thing. I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm like legit. Even the first 50,000, I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then having 1 month was like a 20 grand month. And I was like, it's just this imposter syndrome. So still the narrative is still there.
Yeah.
Right. A little bit, but it's not as loud.
Yes.
But you know, understanding like the first 100,000 is sometimes the hardest.
Yeah.
So I know I'm capable of doing that now. And now I have to do it again.
Yeah.
And better.
Yeah.
So the story now is I am capable.
Yes.
I need new strategies and better resources to continue to grow the business.
Fantastic. That's literally all I am here to do, or the main thing I'm here to do with women to help them is we're telling ourselves this inner story. How can we switch that to get you to the place that you want to be? How can we switch that and alter that to where that last page in the page of your fairy tale story can be the ending that you want it to be?
Yeah.
So a question for you is, you know, on that last page, in your final page of your fairy tale, what do you want to be said about you? Well, how do you want that page to read?
Oof. That's like a tearjerker one. That's like getting deep. So a mantra that I have for myself is I always want to leave people better than I found them.
Yes.
And my prayer every day is to be that.
Yes.
That Lord, allow me to leave people
Yeah.
better than I found them.
Yeah.
Because I touch so many lives with Nice Ladies, but also my business. I am a caterer, but I want to be a legacy caterer.
Yes.
Somebody who marriage, baby shower,
Mm-hmm.
mom passes away, dad passes away,
Yeah.
this, now there's another baby. Like, I want to go with these families through their life and do the life with them.
Yeah.
And if I can't leave them better than I found them, even on they're coming to me for sometimes their darkest moments and also their most glorifying moments. But I want people to say, she left me better than I felt. It's beautiful.
I think,
Yes.
I think if I look at like my story and on that final page of my story tale, it usually says, and they lived happily ever after. I think I want it to say, and she loved happily ever after. Because that's what God has done for us.
Yeah.
And
despite all that life does to us or for us, that we can still come from a place of love, and
Absolutely.
that she came to me in love always.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that her best self may have been tattered and torn, but she still showed up.
Absolutely. That's that's why I love Cinderella so much.
I love Cinderella. She's my favorite.
Yes, because she went through a lot of hardship and she was still soft and gentle and she still loved.
That part.
She still had the courage and the kindness, and that is core character.
So
That's what we're
much
doing
truth in
here.
the whole story of that.
Thank you so much for listening today. I am so thankful that you got to listen to me talking with my good friend Sabrina. I want you to ask yourself that today. The final page of your fairy tale, how do you want that to read? Remember that you have the power to choose and you have the power to write your own story. How does the fairy tale in your life end?